Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Kelly Kirkhoff. I'm a licensed professional counselor associate. I started learning more about ADHD when I had adult clients who would come in and have a lot of either they were undiagnosed, they suspected they had ADHD, or they had been diagnosed, and I saw a lot of the same kind of patterns and the things that they were needing help with. So I started learning more about it, and I found it to be really interesting. And it has helped, like me knowing a lot of these different kind of things about ADHD has been really helpful for me, for my kids, who I didn't really think that they had ADHD or ADD, and then learning more about it, I was like, oh, okay, I think they do. So that's been really helpful to learn about that. Okay. And this is just kind of a reframing thing. The clinical definition of ADHD directly is a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by a persistent pattern of inattention, hyperactivity, or impulsivity. I do not like the word disorder. I think it's a very unhealthy way to look at it, honestly. And so even in being diagnosed, and a lot of kids think there's something wrong with me, or I did something, there's something lacking, being able to reframe this for them would be really helpful. So reframing it, not a deficit of ability or a disorder, it's a difference in how the brain is organized and responds, which it isn't something that they learn, is something that they have. And a lot of ADHD is hereditary. So there's a strong chance if a child has it, then their a parent has it, whether it was diagnosed or undiagnosed. And again, with the reframing, it's a difference. And it's just a difference in how the brain regulates attention, emotion, and energy. It does show up very differently in boys and girls. And just, I'm sure, I don't know what the student demographic of boys and girls, but it does show up. Where a lot of girls, I hear a lot of things in the sessions of, it's the same anxieties, it's the same kind of things that are showing up that are different. And boys are typically more of the hyperactive, but some of them are not. So it's kind of, it does show up differently though, which I'm sure you understand that. This is kind of one way it was described by somebody who's been dealing with it for a long time. It was described to her as you have a race car brain and bicycle brakes. It's like your brain wants to go a million miles an hour and there's not a whole lot to be able to stop it. And so that's just the difference in learning how to handle those kind of things. There's not something wrong. It's just it's kind of just how they're made. And one thing that is, I feel really important is emotions. The emotions of this disorder, it can be very dysregulating. It can be all of them at once. It can be so many things. And this is really important. So I just wanted to go over, I know it's like, oh, I don't want to talk about emotions, but we all have them. We all do. So I think it's really important that we learn how to identify what our emotions are. There's emotion wheels, and I know it may sound silly, but knowing what your emotions are can help you learn how to manage that. And I have the picture of the pilot. If you don't know what they are, how do you know how to manage them? So I'm a counselor. I see a lot of adults who were never allowed to have emotions as kids or young adults. And so then they don't know how to manage them. They were told, don't feel that way or get over it or things like that. So it's important to know what your emotions are so you know how to manage them. One thing is knowing what your emotions are, also identifying where do you feel that on your body. If you are having test anxiety, you get a headache or stomach ache, then you can learn, if you get a headache or stomach ache, recognize, well, maybe this is test anxiety, and be able to use strategies that you have to manage that. And allowing emotions, allowing yourself to have them. I've got a great slide, the next one. It can be like a wave, and you can take a boogie board and ride the wave all the way into the beach, and it's nice and smooth. Or you can stand there and the wave hits you and it kind of knocks you over. and you're not sure what happened. So allowing your emotions can help them dissipate. And if you're not allowing them, they're still there. They will typically show up in a different way. One way I like to describe it is, unwanted or undesired emotions are still there, but it can be pictured as an island. We're gonna go to the island, but we don't have to unpack there. So that's one thing is like, it may be something I don't wanna do, just allowing that. So the next slide here, this is one, and I have these printout. I love these. I hand these to most of my clients that I have, adult, teenagers, whatever. It's called the rain technique, and the flyer's really pretty. I like that. So basically what this is recognizing what's happening. If you're feeling a lot of emotion, whatever it may be, it's just kind of like taking a step back and like looking at what's going on. It can be, the end of the year, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of things going on. We have no idea if it's gonna be summer or winter every day, I don't know. And so it's just taking a step back, it's not dissociating, it's just kind of looking at what's going on in your life, what's going on around you. And asking it, what am I feeling? And you can use emotion wheels if you're having trouble identifying. It doesn't mean it's just one emotion, but what is it that you're feeling? And where do you feel it in your body? And that's to get that association. And then allowing it. Don't run away or try to stuff it down and try to control it. It's just allowing that emotion that you have. The example is, let me see. I'm mad at myself for failing the test. I feel like crying. And then the allowing is, I'm mad and feel like crying. I'm uncomfortable, but it's okay to feel this way, even if I don't like it. So then it's investigating with kindness. Well, why do I feel this way? And is it really true? Do you automatically feel like the worst thing that can happen if you don't do as well? That means, oh, I'm never going to go to college. That happens to a lot of people. You can automatically assume the worst. Then that's when you come in and go, okay, is that really true? Probably not. And so it's just challenging some of those automatic thoughts that might come up. But it's just doing this with kindness and allowing it. So mindfulness, I always thought mindfulness, I associated it with being like a Buddha in the woods, like everything has to be calm and everything. Mindfulness really isn't. Mindfulness is allowing whatever is going on without judgment. So it's allowing the feelings that you have without judging yourself. And then it's nurturing. It's nurturing with self-compassion. Your thoughts and emotions don't define you. And you're feeling it and letting it pass and knowing that the feelings will change and you won't have to feel this way forever. Okay, and then this one might be a lot for maybe younger, but it's also, we all understand the weather. We all know what clouds are. We all know what sunny skies are. So it's a way that we can immediately have a vocabulary for what's going on. It gives a visual and a non-judgmental way to name your feelings. It's also externalizing. In the examples, it's a storm, not you're being dramatic. And it creates a shared language, and this can be for teachers, for parents, caregivers, and it helps parents stay curious instead of corrective. That's the weather. So then this is an example. Sunny, everything's good, it's maintaining connection. Partly cloudy is like, there's just something going on, we're seeing something. And so that's when a parent or caregiver is like, okay, something's going on, what can we do? What's going on? Rainy, it can be sad, tired, discouraged. And that's where it's offering comfort and co-regulation. And co-regulation is more for caregivers, would be if your child or someone around you is feeling distress, it's good to meet that distress with calm, because that can bring stress down. If you're meeting stress with higher stress, that can amp everything up and it can really turn into a shelf cloud. So windy can be restless, impulsive, and what you might need is movement or sensory input, something to do. Stormy could be meltdown, panic, shutdown. So that's where the caregiver parent should provide safety and like not ask anything of the child. And then clearing is recovering. and which is repair, and then reflecting on what happened. And then this would be language that can help. And this is good for you all to know, is maybe, you know, hey, we can use weather, or maybe there's something else that you can use that has a common vocabulary. You know, what is your weather like right now? Is this drizzle or is this thunderstorm? Do you need an umbrella or space? What is it that you need? What is your body feeling? What is going on here? And then what would help your sky clear a little bit? So those are just suggestions. And then one of the strategies is to go in with kindness and curiosity instead of, you know, you need to calm down and things like that. Because that's, if it's meeting with the calmness, it can help calm it down, like I said. So it can be just naming the weather. Looks like it's getting a little windy. And normalizing it, because everybody does have some stormy weather. We all do, regardless of who we are. We all have feelings that change. You can offer a regulation tool on a movement break or a corner or whatever it is that your child might need. And then reconnecting, your sky looks clear. You wrote that out really well. So it's just acknowledging what happened, what could we do better, what did you do well, that kind of thing. And then this is from one of the trainings that I took, that I shared a lot of times. And it's 5 things that are really helpful. There was some questions about medication. And then one was how to, what was it? How to help without medication. And these are really, really important to do. One is sleep, establishing bedtimes and habits and schedules. But also we know that there's times when we may not get to sleep at a certain time, so not making it, yeah. Diets, healthy whole foods, fruits and vegetables. I know it can be boring, but it's better for you. And having protein in the diet helps support your brain. Avoiding simple carbs and processed foods would be a very good tip. Exercise, I'm gonna have, the next slide has an idea of exercise, and 10 minutes a day. And then there's adding some high intensity workouts would be good. The 7-minute workout, it's on the next slide, and it's like 7 minutes. So you don't have to do a 45 an hour workout. You can just do 7 minutes. You can do 1 minute, just do 1 minute plank. It can help. Then having a support team, which can be therapists, it can be your teachers, friends, parents, it can be medication. And then I have a calendar, which is calendar sessions, which is coming up.
Oh, okay. It's terrible timing.
Ignore that. It's, I don't know what it is, if I'm being honest.
It's the lights.
An alarm, a light.
Okay.
That's
That's
really
about
bad
it.
timing.
Yeah.
Here is an example of the scientific 7-minute workout, which is 30 seconds each, and then a 10-second break, and it's just going through those 7 minutes. And you can repeat it as many times as you want. And then it's a form of high intensity. There's a lot of them you can find on YouTube. You can look out, and there's just different suggestions, but it's just letting you know you don't have to do all of the whole thing, you know, an hour and a half, maybe 7 minutes, fine. And there's that. And then this is getting your daily dose, and I have that flyer over there too. It's just talking about the things that your brain needs, which is the dopamine, creating something, achieving a goal. I am not above putting something on a list that I've already done just so I can mark it off. It makes me happy, so I do it. Self-care activities, oxytocin, socialize, have a family member, pet your pets, help others, serotonin, get out in the sunlight, try mindfulness, be with nature. There was a book that I read that had a study in it that 20 minutes in nature 2 to 3 times a week is just like meditation. It helps the body just calm down. So even that, without any devices, without anything, it's just being in nature, even sitting on a bench. And then endorphins, exercise, and listening to music, watching a movie, having a laugh with friends. Those are all, which are daily goals. Good for you. And then here's the calendar. And this is one, I have a calendar that is, I would not have graduated had I not had a calendar. It has a. It is. On one side, it has just notes. So it has lines. I have learned I need lines. You can write all the things that you need to do. That's make a running list. Write it in pencil. Then having regular planning sessions. Okay, what's going on in May? I'm sure May is a pretty busy month. So writing everything that you have in the calendar, then looking at your to-do list. Okay, what can we do this week? What should we put on your calendar this week? Have a little sit down with your parents and on Sunday or whatever day works for you and plan out your week. Put it in pencil because things can change. Then every day, look at your calendar. What is it that we need to do today? And be adjustable. Things happen. We can't always get everything done. If you need to move something from Wednesday to Tuesday, because you feel like doing it, then do that. And being flexible. It's, like I said, the morning huddle, opening plans, what is going through it and talking through it, okay. It helps to put it out in words verbally, like, okay, I'm gonna go to school, and I've got this test at 10 o'clock, and then I'm gonna have lunch, and then I've got a review. In the afternoon, and after school, I'm gonna come home, and I'm gonna do homework for 20 minutes. And then kind of like talking out your day, it can help to solidify it in mind. Reviewing the day with what happened today. Did it work well? Did it not work well? What can we do? What can we do differently? What worked? What can we repeat? How can I improve it? And it's a daily experiment. Every day is different. We all feel different. We have different things to do every day. So it's okay if you need to adjust it out, you got to. What can you do to keep it more interesting? Is it having a different color marker? Is it having a different color paper? Find what works for you, what keeps you interested and excited about it. That's the source of where I got that from. And then tips and tricks. When is the most productive time of your day? Protect that time and use it. If you are having the most lull between 5 and 6, probably not a good time to do your homework. And find what time during your day is the most productive. And then small steps, list ideas, checklists that I talked about. What is your currency? What works for you? Everybody has something different that you care about that you would want as a goal, and things like that. Use timers and intervals. If your homework just seems overwhelming, just do 15 minutes at a time. What works for you? Take a 5-minute break, go do that 7-minute workout. Not all days are the same. If you have a large test day, you may not want to do homework 15 minutes at a time. Be flexible, find what works for you. Clarifying and ambiguity. It drives procrastination. What are you trying to accomplish? If you don't know what you're trying to accomplish, it's hard to see the purpose in the task. So that can be your motivation. Achievable goals and establishing a routine. This one is, how do you know when your task is done? Just cleaning your room just seems like, oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. It's like cleaning the house. I don't even know where to start, so I'm just not gonna do it. So then replacing it with things like, okay, let's take it into parts. It's vacuuming the carpet, wiping down the dresser, hanging up your clothes, taking the trash out. Put those, you get that little dopamine hit from being able to cross something off the list. And it's the same for homework. Instead of doing like a big project, okay, here's a project. What are the things that you can do in that project to divide it up and make it more, feeling like it's more accomplishable, and then it's in pieces. And a routine would be, okay, on Mondays you clean your room, but being flexible within that. But then on Monday you need to clean that room, add it into your calendar. And then listing all tasks, especially verbally, can be overwhelming, leading to dysregulation. So having a task one at a time and writing things down. It's fun. go. Identify sticky and slippery activities. Sticky is hyper focus. Is there an activity you get hyper focused on? Then what are ways that you can handle that? And slippery is distractibility. You're emptying the dishwasher and it takes you 30 minutes because it's just getting distracted. It could be, it's just something that you don't want to do. Okay. Well, then how can you divide up that task where it seems more accomplishable and like not as much of a bore? So that's what that intervention before starting, and be intentional about what you start and when you start it. The thing about writing it down is I hear a lot of adults and a lot of couples, ADHD causes a lot of conflict in couples. Where it can be like, well, I told him and he just doesn't care because he didn't do what I asked him to do. And so being told something, it might go in and then write out. Does anybody feel like that happens? Yeah. So one thing is to write things down, put it on sticky notes, put it on multiple places where you know, in the mirror in your bathroom, by the light, by your room, you know, somewhere like that. There's also apps where you can put tasks on an app. Like parents can put a task on an app and then you see it on there. And it's just remembering that verbal cues may not be remembered, and that's not intentional. It doesn't mean that somebody's lazy at all. Then I forgot to put on the slide, but bilateral music. I don't know if a lot of you, in order to do homework, you need to have some other noise. Bilateral music, and there's a lot of Spotify, there's a lot of YouTube, where it is used a lot in some of the therapies that I do, and it helps both sides of the brain talk to each other. So it can facilitate learning, it can facilitate relaxing. So just trying that and find what bilateral music that you might like. And then getting curious. If you need to say something, or parents, get curious about what your kids are saying. Get curious about how they're feeling and ask them, tell me more about that. And so then the last slide would be how to talk about mental health, because it can be, oh, I don't want to see a counselor, there's nothing wrong with me. It's like, no, there isn't anything wrong. Counselors can just help you sort out things. It can be a place where you just talk to somebody. I've got teen clients who just want an unbiased person to talk to, kind of get and some advice in some ways. There's some, we're not there for the advice giving, but it's just helping work through things, helping learn about emotions and things like that. And so I think it's really important for kids to be able to talk about mental health, adults to be talking about mental health with kids. It's a reality. With ADHD, their best friends is anxiety and depression. And so addressing that and being really open and honest and having a conversation with your kids is important. So asking questions, just seeing what your kid's thinking, you know, asking questions of yourself, asking parents questions, and keeping explanations short. We don't need a dissertation on what depression or anxiety is. It's just how are you feeling? What's going on? What are your thoughts? And then listening. Make sure you're listening to yourselves too. Listen to yourselves. What you're thinking is important. But parents listening to the kids and having conversations and just having that back and forth where they feel comfortable. If they can talk to you about little things, then chances are they can talk to you about bigger things too. And then validating feelings, staying calm and reassuring what they're feeling is normal, and then avoiding the judgment there. And then seeking help when you need it. There's a lot of therapists that can help, help adults, can help teenagers, and there are some therapists that work a lot with young kids. So there is help out there if it's something that you feel like you need just another opinion or somebody with different training in there. So that is all for me. And then, thank you. to help you sleep when you're typing it.
Yeah.
That what you're asking.
Mhm.
Okay. I think doing those, the keystones, adding exercise, getting up and it's consistent. I assume during the school year, you get up in a very consistent.
Yeah, I have a
morning.
pattern that,
Right.
yeah.
So having that, and just finding ways where, like, it's called sleep hygiene, I don't know that word. But it's just having a routine, get ready for bed at night in the same time kind of thing,
Mhm.
staying off devices. Having no caffeine later in the day, watching and eat sugar, later in the day too, because that can affect how our body is. And then I have a technique that I can teach you. I saw another man I thought back there. That I can help, that I can teach. Everybody can do it on their own, before I leave, if that's okay. It might help you. Do you have a question?
I was gonna, kind of like a comment to his, I mean, it depends on when you're going to bed, the dosage and, how late you're taking it. Because I only take my focal medicine, at school, and then I don't touch it after school, and I take lower doses in the afternoon, so it doesn't affect me in the afternoon. So
Yeah,
it completely depends on that too.
Yeah.
Just to see if there's something you can try.
Mhm.
Another big thing with those on the autism spectrum, and I'm specifically kind of talking about myself here, is struggle with empathy. Looking at this one over here, because she knows exactly what I'm talking about. What kind of, do you have like kind of like exercise, like empathy exercises that could work to kind of help build that? And like help have like better, like recognize how to better support someone else's emotions, like if they're asking for it from you.
So what do you struggle with the empathy part?
Feeling it, like recognizing that they're feeling such and such way.
Do you feel, is it okay if I ask you a question about your experience?
Go ahead.
So is it like you have trouble feeling that, so it's hard to feel it for somebody else?
No, well, kind of actually, yeah, because emotional identification is a struggle of mine too.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Sounds like you're very aware.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just trying to figure out, okay, now what? What do I do with that? Because like, yeah, I know what the issue is.
For you or for like seeing that in somebody else?
For me, like I know the like. Well, I know there's just, all I know is I struggle with emotional identification and kind of being empathetic towards other people.
Your initial question was about empathy.
Yeah,
And so what do you think that that means?
being able to like recognize and feel someone, not necessarily feel, but like recognize and like imagine how someone else is feeling.
Can you do that? Sort of.
Sort of,
Well, even if it's just a little bit.
yeah.
That's
I've gotten better at it. I
But
have,
that's
Like,
remembering to not judge yourself based
Yeah.
on where you're at.
because it used to just like, it used to just be. I'm trying not to look. But it used to just be that I would just respond with like, oh, or I'm sorry, or
Right.
kind of like bland responses, you know? But now it's kind of more like, I'm here for you, and it's like asking like, what, is there anything I can do for you?
Mhm.
And even if I don't necessarily completely understand the feeling, I will be honest, and I'll be like, I don't completely understand how you're feeling, but I'm still here to support you, you know?
As person.
I think you nailed it.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's like, I wouldn't suggest anything different. Because if that's something that you struggle with, then that's okay. And you struggle with it, but you're acknowledging it.
Yeah,
And it's acknowledging that you don't understand what that feels, but I'm here for you.
yeah,
So I think you're right on. So good job.
Yeah.
And the fact that you would like more speaks a lot about you.
yeah,
And so, even if you have a little bit, then it's okay. That's you. It's okay. Don't worry about it. So anyone else?
No, do you wanna do the exercise?
Okay. I'm sure there's something that everybody can think of that on a scale of like 0 to 10, it irritates you from like a 2 to a 3. Everybody have one, I know you're smiling. I think everybody, especially driving around in this city.
Aha, thank you for that.
But
Now I got mine.
That's high, that might get too high. So just think of something that's small right now, that's irritating. So does everybody have something? And this is a visualization. If you're not good at visualization, it may not work as well. And so, okay, think about that thing that's bothering you that has an energy. And the energy is going in clockwise or counterclockwise direction. And you can close your eyes, just visualizing this irritation and it's going in a circle. Everybody visualizing that? And this knowing if it's clockwise or counterclockwise. So with your mind, what I want you to do is slowly stop the direction of that irritation. And once you have it stopped, have it start in the opposite direction. And see what happens. Everybody feel a difference in how you felt? Once you reversed it? Anybody? Okay, had a couple nods. Does that make sense? Understand me? It didn't seem like it helped you at all. Is it hard to visualize?
It's hard to visualize.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's other ones, and so, I can always email out some to you for things like that,
Yeah.
so. Did you have any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question online. Do you see a difference in how ADHD affects men versus women? The reason I ask is because I manage both in my house and I see the female is more emotional and the male is more angry.
Well, they're the same, because anger is an emotion. It just, they're showing emotions and they just show up differently for the two. So anger is usually not anger. It can be not feeling heard. It can be just not being able to know what they feel. If that makes any sense. And so that would be a question of what is the anger? What is it? What need do you have that you're not getting met? You know, is it all of the feelings all at once? And that's when like the feeling wheel being able, I use this with the clients, like I'm so overwhelmed, I don't even know what to do. It's like, well, let's look at the feeling wheel. And I know it's not a fun activity for a lot of kids to do, is looking at an emotion wheel. But it's like identifying, okay, what is anger? And even they have like sections of the pie that's sort of like that, what's in there? What's going on that's making you feel like that? So it's more of looking at the anger, and then the way females is a lot of emotions, but anger is emotion too. So I don't know that at all. Okay. Any others?
So usually when you did, like, when a child gets diagnosed with ADHD, do they usually, as they grow older, does it not, I wouldn't say go away, but it's not as noticeable as when they're younger than they are under, let's say 18 to 21 years old?
It depends completely. I think the way that I see it is, I think if there are skills that are put in place
Mhm.
and an understanding of yourself, your emotions, and it will not show up the same way as somebody who, like I said in the beginning of
Yeah.
not knowing what you're feeling, and it's all of these feelings, and so if that isn't ever learned at some point, then it can lead to being 20, 30 and feeling just completely frustrated and having it show up as anger. And so learning how to manage your emotions younger, and learning what medications work, do you take them all the time? Doing the calendar, like learning those skills now will just help pave your future where it won't have such a big effect.
How would someone go about, like, if they have regular panic attack, like, but it's always the same type of thing causing them? Like, how would they minimize, like, dealing with it,
Okay.
or eventually just making it go away?
That is a loaded question.
Several people and no one's giving me an answer.
Is, I mean, that would be, that would be a therapy session, honestly. But that could be something I should look into, like, something that can be kind of generalized for everybody. And so, that's a hard one to answer, but it's like asking. It sounds kind of weird, but we all have different parts of ourselves, right? We have an anxious part, we have a people pleasing part, we've got the good student part, we've got different parts of ourselves, okay? So there's a panic part. And so it would be maybe even if you're, it's like learning the signs of when it's coming on. And before it gets too much, if that's possible, because I've heard that some people, when they're just learning, by the time they recognize it, it's already too late. But it's learning like, okay, what is, if it's the one thing, then learning, what is that precursor to it, or what's that reason there? And what is this anxiety saying to me? What is it that it needs? Does that make sense? I know it sounds weird, but it's like, what is the worry? And then it's looking at that brain thing of like, is this real? Is it true? And it feels real, but is it true? And there can be difference. But it's really listening to yourself. What is your need? Because there's something that feels unsafe. And so it's like, what feels unsafe? What can help it feel safe? Does that make sense? Okay, that's like a really very short answer. But try that and see. And that's like really going into the mindfulness. And even allowing it, like, oh, if I feel that anxiety building, I feel it building. If I try to, I need it to stop, I need it to stop. It typically, it's still there. So it's like, even if you're feeling some anxiety, it's like, okay, I'm feeling some anxiety, what's going on? Being a little more accepting to it, and it may not turn into that thing, the volcano kind of thing. So just try that and see if that helps. Thanks for asking. Thank you for asking about that. Any other? And this.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it.
Questions, like, they can message me or they can go through you.
Okay, yeah, and I'll send them your way. Yeah, that's perfect.
Thank you all.